If you're casting a show, you better do it right, 'cause character traits aren't skinny and white. Hello, I'm Amara Brady, and welcome to the second episode of Skinny and White on Character Traits. In this paper, I'll explain. This week, we're taking on one of my favorite Manic Pixie Dream Girls, Maria Reiner, in The Sound of Music. If you'd like to ask questions about why she's a Manic Pixie Dream Girl, I will be available after class. Once again, just to be clear, we are specifically focusing on one character in each show, but we hope that our conversation can encourage similar discussions about the remaining cast of characters whose race may also not be specified in the text. And now for the synopsis, my favorite dramaturg and yours, Colby Frederick.
Hey everybody! So you may be familiar with The Sound of Music. It is one of the most popular Rodgers and Hammerstein shows from the late 1950s and was made internationally famous by Julie Andrews' portrayal in the 1965 film. But in case you're not aware, The Sound of Music adapts the true story of Maria von Trapp and explores her time as a postulant in the Nonnberg Abbey in Austria and her meeting with recent widower, Captain Georg von Trapp. When she's hired to be the governess of his children, his many children, she is nervous about the great new responsibility that she's taken on. But through music, Maria is able to invigorate the family's love of life again in a time fraught with rising tensions stemming from the annexation of Austria by Nazi Germany.
All right. You know what time it is. Let's talk about possible problems. Is there anything in the world of the play that requires Maria to be white, aside from the fact that she was white in real life?
Yes, in real life, Maria was white, but in the text, there is nothing actually that really describes the way that she looks. What I did find is that her character description before the libretto even really begins is simply just a postulant at Nonnberg Abbey. That's it. Later on, there is a line, or rather a stage direction that says underneath her wimple, she has curlers in her hair, but it doesn't specify like what kind of hair, what color,
Look at
anything
my
like that.
curls in my hair that could also have curlers.
Exactly.
You don't know me. I pin curl my hair sometimes when I'm not tired.
Exactly. And then a little later on, there is one line that hints at her origin, that she was brought up on the mountain, which we'll actually kind of talk about in a moment. But other than those few things, we don't get a clear physical description of what Maria is supposed to look like in the world of this musical.
Nothing about her being thin either, correct?
No, nothing about her weight. Really, not even her age. We just know that she was much younger than the actual captain in real life.
She was 22 and he was 47 when they were married.
Yeah. So there is that.
Also, like, just so we're clear, we did a little digging because we were nosy. They didn't actually cross the Alps. They crossed the railroad in their backyard. Shout out to them for not being racist, but just so we're clear. I don't know that they weren't racist. Shout out to them for standing up against the Nazi regime. I don't know how they felt about people, and I'm leery about calling them non-racist. I don't fucking know. God help us.
Amara, what have you found out about people of color living in Germany and Austria during the setting of the musical?
It's my favorite part. I get to talk about Black people. Okay, there are actually Black Austrians. I didn't expect it, but Black people have actually been a part of Austrian history since like the 14th century. And there were a couple of people who were enslaved over there. Austria didn't really take part in the carving up of the African continent as a cake in a formal way, similar to like what Great Britain did or what Germany actually did. But if you'd like a little bit more information on Black Austrians, there's a link to an article to start you off in the description of this show. It's also important to note that contrary to what Watchmen would have you believe, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. Black people were a part of the demographics that the Nazis planned to exterminate. One specific example of it is the Rhineland bastards, some of whom were born to African mothers and German fathers. Were rounded up into camps and forcibly sterilized. They also used the birth of these children to create a media sensation about Black men raping German women. All of this to say that Black people existed in this world and were in fact under attack by some folks in this community, because anti-Blackness is what? Global. And Black people are what? Everywhere. Also, this is my mic. You can't see it, but it's here. This is a microphone, y'all. The Zoom just does not want me to be great, so it looks like I'm like talking into nothing, but it's a microphone.
Just apparated. I love that. And that's it for the dramaturgy portion. We love having conversations like this, and we hope that you may have these kinds of conversations as well going forward.
Before we get to the song, here's the reason I love Maria. I love how free and giving her spirit is. I think that Maria being a member of a community that is at risk of being hunted and possibly killed gives more urgency to the love story between her and Captain Von Trapp. The idea that he loves this woman who loves his children so much that he would uproot their entire lives to save her is the type of love story that enraptures us all in possibility. And on top of that, they get to live. In a world that doesn't value the love and light or even the lives of Black women, it feels like a radical act to have a story like this on the stage. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again next time. Here's my rendition of The Sound of Music. Bye.
Bye.
The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears. My heart wants to beat like the wings of the birds that fly from the lake to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like the chimes that fly from the church on the breeze, to laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way, to sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more.
All right, it's time for the show. It's the part of the show where I Google to see if there are Black women who play Maria.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Did I post this? The first thing that came up was Can Maria Sound of Music in parentheses be Black from 2007. I didn't post this, but I feel like I should have. For Maria's race to not suddenly be a big white elephant in the room, in my opinion, you would almost have to colorblind cast the entire production, as did one of the professional productions that used African American Maria, which featured multi-ethnic children. Where is this production? Interesting. I can't find anything about this Black Maria. Like a teacher said, hi all, this may seem like a dumb question to some, but here it is. I'm casting a production of The Sound of Music, and we have a beautiful and talented young woman who sang and read for Maria, and she is very good. However, she is African American. On the one hand, we have the colorblind casting that has become prevalent in this country, which is wonderful, and I'm all for it. I was ready to cast her when other members of the creative team objected due to historical context. Ooh, somebody said that race isn't a central theme of The Sound of Music, and somebody else said you are wrong. I think a Black Maria goes against the historic nature of the piece. It might seem a little quirky to have an African-American Maria leading the Von Trapp family amid Nazi Germany. Is the rest of the cast racially diverse as well? It would be a shame to cast someone with lesser talent based on looks. I guess it's really your choice.
How do you solve a problem like finding
a Black Maria? If y'all let Gaga sing it, you can let somebody black sing it. Leave me alone.